Now we're good. What's up, y'all? What's up, PBL 301 Escuela Verde? I have Sebas here online, which all of you have known a little bit about from our class today and our homework assignments. So I brought him on to talk about Barbershop Real Talks. He couldn't make it in class in person as a speaker, but man, I had to have him at least, talk in some way, shape, or form. And we're like, hey man, we could do this virtual. Let's jump on the Zoom. And he was down. So without further ado, I'm gonna let him introduce himself and what he does. And then we're gonna get into him talking about the community event. All right. So Sebas.
Appreciate the kind introduction, like Santiago or Mr. Chavez already said. My name is Sebastian. I go by Sebas though. And so yeah, a little bit of what I do. It's always like a tough question for me because I feel like we're all multi-dimensional, multi-talented people. But I guess some things that I do and that I enjoy. I've been working with youth and education and mentorship for quite a while now. I've worked at schools and like alumni programs. Community organizing is also really important to me. So whether it be social justice issues or just things popping off in the community, always trying to be present in ways that I can be. And I also am a creative. So I'm an artist. I like to make music. I like to write music. And I make music with my group, some Latin hip hop music. And so, yeah, I'm glad I know about Escuela Verde. I know people who have worked there, people who have gone there. So when Santi hit me up, I definitely wanted to, jump at the opportunity to just share whatever I can with y'all. And hopefully it's helpful, or hopefully it helps develop some good conversations.
Dope things, Sebas. And then just so they know, usually when we bring in speakers for different reasons, what we like to do is actually ask speakers if they give us a little background of how they grew up, and just so they know, like, like speakers that we're bringing here have a lot more in common with these students than they actually know. So give us a little bit of a background on how you grew up, man.
For sure. Yeah, we out here, man. So yeah, I usually start with where my parents are from because I think a lot of us too, whether you be a child of an immigrant or if you were brought here, sometimes by force or whatever it may be. But yeah, so I'm a first generation Latino from the south side of Milwaukee. I grew up over right off of 6th and Greenfield. I went to school in the south side. Just growing up in the hood, there's a lot of beauty in the city. I kind of, it's a real gritty place, but there's also a lot of beauty in all of it. So yeah, I grew up just really curious about a lot of different stuff, whether it be music or, I was big into sports, things of that nature, still am. But yeah, I'm from the South Side. I got a chance to live outside of the country, but Milwaukee has always been home base. And so yeah, just yeah, I don't know if there's anything else specifically, but yeah, I'm born and raised from the South Side of Milwaukee, and yeah, I'm proud of it.
Awesome. Southside represent. I appreciate that. Sebas, and another thing, man, like now to get to the meat of things and what we like would like you to talk about and what these students are excited to know, because they're like, hey, what, like free haircuts if I go in there and talk about my life and stuff. I was like, yeah,
that's
man.
the hook, man.
I was like, yeah, man, this is a thing. And they're like, damn, where was this? They're like, Santi, why didn't you let us know? And I'm like, man, like by the time like I could have extended an invite, it was already like passed, and we didn't even open up school, start school then. So man, Barbershop Real Talks. Can you tell them a little bit more about that? What is it? How did it come to be? And what was the overall impact of it?
For sure. Yeah. I'll try to make it as concise as I can. But yeah, Barbershop Real Talks takes place at a barbershop. It doesn't necessarily have to, but the whole concept behind the Barbershop Real Talks was to create a space for young boys of color, and specifically around different topics that sometimes don't really get discussed, especially being boys and men, but especially being boys of color as well, right? So we're talking about things like emotional regulation. We're talking about mental wellness, mental fitness is what I like to call it, because it's just like a muscle, right? You got to work at it and get through things and continuously evolve. But just talking about certain struggles that maybe we facing, whether it be in our community, in our homes, at school, because a lot of times with toxic masculinity, meaning that there's behaviors that we're taught from a young age of how we're supposed to deal with certain things in our life, and it ends up being really damaging. It's damaging not only to yourself, but also can be damaging to those around you. And so I feel like if we're able to start these conversations when you're younger, by the time you continue to get older, you have a better grip on those things and those emotions, because emotions are not wrong. They're nothing to be scared of. They're nothing to try to suppress. More than anything, it's learning those emotions, being comfortable with them, honoring those emotions, right? Like recognizing them and not trying to just push them to the back of your mind, or coping strategies, right? Like when we stress, like what do we do when we stress, right? Are we partaking in activities that involve drugs? Are we being promiscuous? Are we harming ourselves? Are we raging and acting out and taking it out on other people? So there's a lot of different positive, healthy coping strategies, and there's things to help with that. And so I think one of them, obviously, being sharing in that circle with other people to know that you're not alone, but also sharing different resources, right? And sharing different strategies of what we could do. And so it started off, a homie of mine named Ambrose, who he works as a director at Sky Schools, and he does a lot of like fitness, like physical fitness, but he also does a lot of calming techniques, a lot of breathing strategies, a lot of mental fitness stuff at schools with teachers, students, even professionals and corporations. So this is somebody who reached out to me and kind of proposed to me the idea of trying to do something. And so he kind of just gave me the ropes and the idea to kind of like see what we could do, especially in our community in terms of mental and emotional wellness with our young boys. And so my immediate thought when it comes to trying to execute something is it's always a little bit more big picture, right? So you start off big, and then you start fine tuning the logistics, right? So the first thing, in order to even do this, like we need barbers, right? Like, because I ain't gonna give no haircuts. You know what I'm saying? I could, but y'all ain't gonna be happy.
You get
So
that little the bowl cut
the
from
bowl cut, I could give you the bowl cut. I could give you the buzz cut. I might be able to line up a beard, but most young boys don't like have a beard. You know what I'm saying? But so reaching out to barbers, right? Thankfully, homie JP over at Flashy Faded was down from the jump. And then the second part that I wanted to, there's an activity that I wanted to do that incorporated photography, and I can get into that a little bit later. So my next part was to get somebody on board for that piece. And for that, I hit up my guy, Samer, who's a super multi-talented individual. And these are also men of color as well, who have, gone through a lot of different things in their life. And I think bring a lot to the table, not just as what in their craft, but like who they are as a person. So even being intentional about the stakeholders, right? So stakeholders meaning who do you have to not convince, but who do you have to get to buy into your idea, right? Like who do you have to try to get on board to make it actually pop or to make it happen, right? So once he was down, I had the barber down, locking down a location, like again, the little logistical stuff, right? Once that was locked in, it was more so about then developing what it looks like the programming, for lack of a cooler word. So you got the people ready in place. And again, sometimes it's the opposite. Sometimes you can build the program first, or the how you want to deliver it, and then try to find people, right? So it's not like you have to do it in this particular order. But for me, it was important to lock down people who are down, and then that other stuff I'll take care of it after, right? And so after that, developed a little bit of like topics. I really wanted it to be though youth led, meaning like whatever y'all want to talk about, whatever y'all are stressing about, right? Because I don't know what y'all are stressing about. Like I don't know what's bothering y'all or what things you're going through and stuff like that. So I kind of had like a rough template of things that we could talk about and touch on. But it was really more so like y'all talk about what y'all need to, and then we'll be here to either facilitate and kind of start conversations or provide resources or things that we've gone through that maybe is the same or applicable. And so once that programming was done, it was just about outreach to young people, right? So I made a flyer with the information on there. The big thing too was about the free haircuts, right? Because I mean, you know, in part as well, like when you also look good or you think you look good, you might feel good as well, right? when we talk about depression, right? Depression looks really different, right? Some people think like, oh, if you're laying in bed and you're sad and you sleep all day, that's depression. Depression can look really different. Like, you know, it could look from poor eating habits, right? Like maybe you overeat, maybe you don't eat well at all and you're not eating, maybe you're not sleeping well, right? Maybe you start acting out, you know, or getting really angry all the time. Um, or maybe even your hygiene as well. Like sometimes, like if you're depressed, people start, you know, maybe you don't, you know, shower as much, you're not as motivated to like clean up. So it looks really different. So plus like with the haircuts too, I know that's like a hook. Like who doesn't want to get a fresh cut? Like, you know what I mean? So it kind of incorporated like it's cool to talk about this stuff. It's cool like to um learn how to manage these things and talk about these things with homies or other people that are going through similar things. So trying to reframe it, right? Because again, in our community is kind of seen as weak. It's seen like, oh, we don't talk about that. Like quit acting like a girl or quit this and that. And emotions are framed as like this like girly or bad or negative thing. And so just trying to reframe the entire narrative and the entire perspective of it. And so yeah, once we were able to develop that, it was a lot of just outreach to young people, posting on the Instagram, Facebook with the flyer, individually like texting kids too. Like I still keep in touch with a lot of young kids I used to mentor and new kids that I've met at my prior job as well, and just hitting them up, not even on no pressure, you know, kind of thing. I almost cussed, my bad. Not even on no pressure or anything like that. Just like, yo, we hosting this. If you want a free cut, it's gonna be chill. We just gonna chop it up. Feel free to roll through. And so we got some kids that rode through, and we broke it down in a 3-week program again, like a 3-week kind of sessions. So every Monday, we would meet every Monday for 3 weeks, and this is when we would talk about different things. You know, while they get their cut, you know, and you know, one of the things that we did was the first week when they came, we took their picture, right? Obviously, we asked them like, "Are you cool if we take this picture for an activity we're going to do at the end?" And so that first week, everybody got their picture taken by Sammer, and you could see all the I call them like the mug, right? Like the mug, the ice grill, the kind of like no smiling, no none of that, right?
Mhm.
And so, all right, cool, we got those pictures, and then the following week, right, got haircuts again and took pictures of them after the haircut. So
Mhm.
by this point, we had had 2 sessions with the boys, and all of them had gotten their haircut. Took pictures of them again, and you could see the change, right? They were a little more comfortable. They were feeling good after their cut. um you know, just we had snacks, so they were just chilling. And then the third week we put all the pictures up on one side from the first week and all the pictures on the other side from the second week, and we gave everybody post-it notes and a pen to write with, and just asked them to write words or adjectives or anything they noticed about the pictures. And you notice the difference between the two walls, right? On one wall it was kind of like scared, bored, you know, upset, cool, whatever you want to call it, right? And on the other side it was like funny, joyful, you know, like just completely different emotions and feelings, right? And so the whole point of that was just to kind of notice how we're perceived, right, as young men and boys of color. Like how are we seen, right? And how are we able to shift that narrative of like, bro, like it's tiring always being tough. Like it's tiring always like trying to act hard. Like, you know what I'm saying? So it's okay to like let that guard down and like take off your cool. You know, it's like Andre 3000 said, like, take off your cool. You know what I'm saying? Like, and so yeah, that was like one little activity we incorporated into it. But more than anything, it was just to open up that discussion, open up those different things. And then on the third week, you know, we just kind of wrapped everything up, and I created like a little handout with different techniques, coping strategies, resources, numbers they could call, like if they in a situation, whether it be organizations or, you know, the suicide hotline or orgs in their community, like if they feel in a certain type of way and stuff like that. And yeah, and then all of the mentors, the adult men that were there, shared their contact info as well, to just hit us up if they ever need anything. And so yeah, we ran that back 3 times. And so we're hoping to do it again starting up this school year. So yeah, that's kind of like the rough gist of it. There's more little details that went into it where if you want to ask, feel free. But that was kind of like, again, the big picture and kind of the purpose of it.
Super dope, man. Yeah, thank you. I think that's awesome where you had like the before and the after the sessions and stuff like that, you know. Um it like those 2 weeks that they were there, so I was like, what like when they came in, what exactly like did you like talk about how were those run like when they came in? So it's like, hey,
Yeah,
so I'm a little homie. I'm like, hey, I'm trying to get a haircut, but I'm also trying to see what
right,
this is about.
right.
I walk in there that first week. What do I experience, or what do I go through, or what do I get taught? You know?
Yeah, no, that and some kids who went, honestly, like some just went for the cut. Like I know that they just went there for the cut and they stayed there because they had to. That's cool. That's cool. Like you don't have in that circle, it's not like everybody go around and you have to say something. Like again, this ain't no like you'll come and speak and share when you're ready or when you need to or whatever it may be. So it was never no pressure to say the least, you know what I mean? So some kids just went just because they wanted to get a cut. They brought their little bro too. Like that's totally cool. Like that's the whole point. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
Um, but some kids who went too were like, what are we gonna talk about? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like what like some have never even heard of like certain terms too, like toxic masculinity, which I mentioned before, which is you know, unhealthy traits that that masculinity carries again, like that men or boys oftentimes carry and display, right? And so just sharing what terms that first week was a big intro of just like these are certain terms that we're talking about, like misogyny,
Mhm.
right? Misogynoir, right? Which is similar to misogyny, but it's towards black women or dark skinned women or women of color, right? As opposed to where misogyny is just strictly like women, right? Um, and so just talking about different terms, um, and then asking them too, like, what's been on y'all minds, right? This was during the pandemic when schools were trying to come back in, and so a lot of them shared about like the whole thing of like, you know, wanting to go back to school, wanting to like kick it with friends because they haven't been able to, and dealing with a lot of stuff at home too. You know what I'm saying? So that first session was just a lot of like introducing ourselves, and kind of giving a breakdown of different things that we're going to be talking about, what they mean, and things of that nature. And so that's what that first session kind of looked like, just to get them comfortable and make sure we all on the same page.
Yeah.
Um, Before every session, we would always start with a little bit of a reflection where we just kind of try to kind of everything that's on our mind, right? Our minds are always running and doing stuff and thinking about the past and the future and things like that. So just trying to like create again that space where like let your shoulders down, unclench your jaw, like relax yourself, right? And so all our sessions started with that just to kind of set the tone. And then yeah, just kind of went from there. And the second week was a little bit more in-depth conversations. A little more serious. And then again, the third week was kind of like wrapping things up in terms of repasando, like revisiting everything that we've talked about,
Mhm.
following up on any like conversation we had the second week, and then sharing like again resources and strategies, right? Like of how to deal with certain stuff.
Dope, dope. And what I want everyone in class to realizing like right now, like he mentioned free haircuts, right? But that was only the 10% of everything that we just shared, right? Everything that was
That
talked
was the
about.
easy part.
Yeah, that was the easy part, right? The rest of the part is playing it out and actually the meaning or why this means so much, and the impact that it's going to drive, right? But you can't have that if you don't have any people that come to your event, right? So
Yeah,
that's why you got to hook them and give them some sort of incentive. And that's what was the free haircut, right? So
yeah,
a free haircut, it's like, hey, like, all right, I'm bringing my little brother with me. But then you
yeah,
get there, and once you get the people there, it's like, oh, now you actually teach them what you want to teach them, right?
hmm,
So I liked that part of it just because it's like, hey, maybe we don't sometimes the people that need to hear it the most or
hmm,
need these types of events the most are those that don't often go
right,
to workshops that are run for that. So
yeah,
the fact that you guys did that with the free haircut, I thought was
yeah.
awesome.
Yeah. And let's be real, haircuts can be expensive too. Like, let's just keep it
Well,
a buck. Let's just keep it 100. Like, you know what I'm saying? Especially if you have little bros, like it adds up quick. So it's like, I mentioned the homie bringing his little bro. You know what I'm saying? So like, so that was like a part of it too, you know, to provide like that service and whatnot, because it does get pricey.
So yeah, and the other thing that I wanted to ask is, I mean, you mentioned this a little bit too, with like the feel good and look good, feel good. But it's like, but why the barbershop, right? Why the, because like, I mean, I could buy a tux or I can buy a nice
Yeah,
shirt, whatever, and look good. But what
yeah.
aspect, you know, what field does the barbershop bring that gets people more open to talking about these?
Word, word. A lot of times we look for things outside of ourselves, right? Clothes, haircuts, cars, like whatever, validation from people. But a lot of it's got to start internally, and you know what I'm saying, inwards. And so when it comes to like a barbershop, think about in particular like the boys. I'm
Mhm.
talking to the boys or the young men, right? And women too, but in particular, just because of the conversation of the barbershop talks. Think about how close a barber gets to your face. Think about how close they get to you. Think about how they grab your head. Maybe they grab your face. Think about that relationship, right? That masculine to masculine interaction, right? I used to have homies who used to like not want to hug or like this or this whatever because they thought X, Y, and Z or oh that's gay or whatever it may be, right? But this is a very intimate relationship that you have, right? Because this person is damn near breathing all up on you and doing the most, right? And you're trusting this person to get that close to you and to do all that. And lots of times too, like, you know, I remember going to a barbershop when I was young and like trying to act cool, like almost nervous, you know what I'm saying? Because it's a grown man and they all, you know, I thought they were cool and this and that. So it's just kind of like I'm just sitting there getting my hair cut. And as I got older, right, like you see a lot of men talk to their barbers and have a very special relationship of things maybe they're dealing with, relationship issues or stuff that's going on, and like celebratory stuff too. Like, oh man, I'm getting married. Like I'm getting married, man. I need a haircut, or I have this going on. Like, give me fresh, fam. Like, so that relationship develops, right? It's kind of like those funny videos or memes where like when you cheat on your barber, like you know what I'm saying? Like that's a very real thing. So like, um, providing like a cool space, like not having it in a classroom, not having it in some formal like space, just like a cool, chill spot. You know what I'm saying? Where like you see things that are relatable to you. My guy had a painting of Nipsey Hussle on his wall. We were all dressed like how we want, like how we dress regularly. So it was just like a setting of like just chill, like come as you are type of deal. Um, but also recognizing too that like again that relationship with that barber can develop a lot, and realizing that like when you go to get a haircut and you talk to your barber, that's not the only space where you can do this at, like right. And so just trying to again provide kind of like that neutral ground where we're all on the same playing field per se. You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying?
Yeah, I like that because it's kind of metaphorical in a sense. Because whenever I'm with like I can't remember a time where like I'm at the barbershop stressed. I'm always when I sit in the chair, I'm like I'm at ease, and I'm
Yeah.
only really nervous about if it's a new barber. Like, yo, is he gonna
Right, right,
have
right,
my back like my normal
right,
barber does? You know what I mean?
right.
But it's metaphorical in a sense because it's like, yo, like, all right, I'm new to this, but I know that this guy is gonna help me look good, right?
Hmm.
Gonna help me feel better about myself. And what the barbershop real talks is kind of like, yo, I might be coming into the space like not wanting to be open at first, but I know that at the end of this talk, at the end of this workshop, I'm gonna feel a lot better. So
Hmm.
I definitely liked and love that aspect of it, man. I thought it was super dope, and can't wait to get to the next one. The one thing I meant you mentioned like you knew people that were like contacting you um about this, and then you reached out to the people you knew.
Hmm.
What suggestions do you have for someone that might be wanting to do the same thing, but they don't have those connects, or they feel like they don't have those connects? Um,
Hmm.
what would you suggest should be their first couple moves whenever they do decide to reach out to someone if they don't know anyone from the get-go?
For sure. Yeah, I could share a couple. A lot of things are coming to mind, but I'm gonna try to keep it really concrete and actionable items. Um, so sometimes we have this perception of like we have to be a certain position or a certain um we come up with like reasons why we can't do things, right? Which is normal. But I think what's most important is like letting go of that fear, right? Like I'll put it like this too. Like I create art and music, right? There was a point where I would reach out to 10, 20, people to book me, and maybe two would get back, right? But I was like, cool, let's follow up on these two, right? Then you get to a point where like people begin to reach out to you, right? I had men reaching out to me for these barbershop talks. I had more men reaching out like, yo, are you gonna do anything for adults and things like that, right? But when you're first starting, I think the most important thing is figuring out what you need, right? Like identifying whatever it is you want to go about, right? There's a lot of things popping off in the community. So sometimes it's just about what do you want to see more of, or what do you want to see less of? If I'm really passionate about athletics and green spaces, maybe I want to see more parks in my hood, right? Or maybe I want to see less gun violence, or maybe I want to see whatever it is, right? Like just take a look and walk around. Maybe I want to have more access to, recreational activities and after school programming. Like figure out what it is that you want to see more of or less of, and then from there, see who's already doing stuff. Like Google it. If you or Google like parks and recreation in Milwaukee, and just take note of who's in charge, things like that. They're probably not going to get back to you, right? So I wouldn't suggest trying to hit up the president or the CEO of companies and this and that off top, because they're probably not going to get back to you. If they do, that's great, but they're probably not going to get back to you. So you got to start looking at people who are doing stuff. They're like, yo, that's really cool, and not be afraid to just reach out, right? So if I'm trying to do something, make sure you have a request, right? Like make sure you're asking something, right? Whether it be contacts, whether it be how did you do this, whether it be do you have any suggestions on if this is what I want to do. So you have to have that prior preparedness of like a vision. Again, it doesn't have to be super specific, like think big picture, right? I wanted to do these barbershop real talks. I hit up somebody's like, hey, I reached out to like probably like 8 barbers, like to be real. 3 of them were, a couple were not available, 2 never got back, right? One bailed on me. One said that they were going to be there and then they ended up not going, right? And that's just how it be sometimes. But knowing what you're asking, right? Like I asked Samer, I need some photography skills and for you to help me facilitate, right? I asked JP to, yo, man, can you cut up kids? Like knowing what you're asking for, right? I'm trying to do this. Could we use your space for it? If you're not even at that point yet and you're still trying to plan things, reach out to people in your community, like Santi, right? Maybe Santi has never built a car, but maybe he knows people who have. So like really leverage and utilize like the people that are close proximity to you, right? Whether it be a teacher, whether it be in the community, whether you see somebody at an event, just exchange that contact. Even me as like a young adult, right? Like if I see somebody doing something dope or something really cool, like I want their contact info, because I want to learn from them. I want to pick their brain if I ever need to, and just get inspired by them too. Like just seeing them do their thing is also helps me. Like, damn, that's really cool. Like I want to continue to elevate my game as well. So I would just suggest, if you're trying to get into something, do your research, have a rough vision of what you want to execute, and then figure out who can help you develop that, right? So yeah, like if you want to start a basketball camp for kids in the hood or something like that, or a soccer camp, look up different soccer academies and camps, or reach out to people around you. Like I can't stress this enough. Like I tell this to the kids that I always work with too. Like, let me know like what you need or what you're looking for, because 85-90% of the time I'm not gonna be able to give you that, but I know people who can, and I could plug you and connect you that way. Like, you feel me? So it's not even necessarily about like you have to find the person who's doing it the biggest and the baddest. Like, nah, sometimes the homie knows the homie who knows the homie, and you get in contact that way. So just not being scared to ask, getting comfortable, even if you have to prearrange what you're gonna say and have like a go-to, script, that's cool. Or if you need help writing an email, I could help you write a nice little email and requesting information, or a meetup, or whatever it may be. So I know that sounds like a lot, but those are kind of just like a couple things that can help you kind of continue to form and execute things that you want to try to accomplish.
So yeah, man, thank you. Like that's a lot of golden nuggets that Sebas just dropped on y'all. So Hope y'all were taking notes. Definitely gonna have a little questionnaire at the end
Yeah.
for y'all to make sure that y'all caught those golden nuggets. Because there's a lot of fire that he just dropped, y'all. So in a nutshell, one, see who's in close proximity to you. Two, design it, figure out someone who's already done it. And three, kind of like know what the ask is going to be when you reach out, right? And if you need help with any of those three, kind of ask for help because it's your first time doing it. So it's like we don't expect you to do it perfectly, but we do expect you to try and reach out to one of us for help, right? One thing that so as you mentioned that I liked a lot was you said, hey, see what you would like to see more of or what you would like to see less of, right?
Yeah.
And then try to form your event around that. One thing that I wanted to ask you is why do you think we don't see that many barbershop real talks around? Or like, why is this the first time that maybe you've heard about it like before?
Yeah, I've heard of some outside of the city, like outside of Wisconsin, that inspired me. It was with men, like grown men.
Or
I forgot where, maybe Kansas or something. Yeah, I don't know, somewhere in the Midwest. But that's what inspired me.
cool.
What was the question you asked though?
The question was more like, why do you think we don't hear about these barbershop real talks often or community
Yeah,
events like this?
I mean we don't hear about talks on these topics in general. You know what I'm saying? Like, um recently I feel like schools have started shifting towards, like, they call it social emotional learning, taking into account the social aspect and emotional aspect of the students that they serve in. um but it all starts like up here, yo. Like if you're not right up here, you ain't gonna be right nowhere else. And so, when it comes to continuing to ascend or develop yourself, right? Like, you got to be good up here. And like, let's be real, there's not, even me, like, I don't think there's a lot of spaces where we can do that. And again, like with the culture of like what it means to be a man, what it means to be masculine, especially in communities of color, like we don't talk about that. Like we don't talk about that. And so, if we do, it's really taboo or looked down upon. So again, I wanted to see more of these talks. I wanted to see more, um, people being put on game when it comes to these topics. Like, you know what I'm saying? So, for me, it was, I wanted to see less damaging, behaviors of, like, of young boys. And I wanted to see, more of these conversations being had, and better ways to deal with stuff that we're going through. Because sometimes it feels like you don't really have an outlet, right? And so yeah, even for like, I'll give a little anecdote too. Like, I played soccer all throughout high school, college. I played at one of the best, high schools in the nation for soccer. Um, I tore my meniscus a couple years ago, and for me, like playing on the field was where I got a lot of my anger, rage, or just like those feelings that sometimes pop off, right? Like, cause you running into people, you bumping, you tackling, you getting all that adrenaline and all that energy out. And so when I wasn't able to play anymore, it was like, damn, where am I supposed to place this? Like I didn't have, like, other activities to for that particular energy,
Hmm.
right? So it was again like relearning, like, okay, cool, what can I do now with all this stuff that I'm feeling or going through? You know what I'm saying? Or, yeah, just like different little things like that, where like it's gonna happen. Like you're gonna feel down. You're gonna probably get anxious at some point in your life. You probably gonna get depressed at some point in your life. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, again, not being afraid of those things, honoring those feels, letting yourself soak in them, right? And then realizing, okay, cool, like, you know, it still pops up, sometimes here and there. So it's like something that you have to get comfortable with, and develop good strategies, good supports to help you kind of like make sure you get through those lows. Because life is just like that, you know what I'm saying? So just figuring those things out.
Oh, dope. So definitely, if you're ever finding yourself in a place where you're like, hey, why isn't there someone that I can talk to? Why isn't there something like this? Why can't we open up? Maybe it's up to you, right? To find something or make something happen, just like
Yep.
Sebas did with Barbershop Talk. So just so that y'all know, like, hey, yo, if you see something that's wrong, or you see something that you're like, man, I'd like to, why doesn't this exist yet? Maybe it's up to you to make that happen, right?
Big facts. Big facts.
You know,
Even more so, even more reason to do it. If it's not there already, that's even more like reason to do it.
you
I think, yeah.
and because if not now, when? And if not you, like,
Ooh.
oh, you know what I mean? So like,
Yeah.
I'm really glad that, you know, as you, like, you started in yourself and with Samir and everyone that reached out to get together and make something like this happen. One thing, just two last things. One is how any advice about someone who wants to help a homie out, right? Who is going through these things. It could be a girl or a guy, and it's going through these things, and you know they're going through it. Like, how do you suggest someone reach out or try to start that conversation? Could it be like maybe inviting them to one of these talks, or you know?
Yeah. Yeah, it's difficult to be real. Like, I think because again, since we're not really taught how to sometimes deal or manage these things, um, it can be very difficult, and we might not always know how to respond to situations, or when our homies are feeling a certain type of way, we may not know what to do or say, right? I had a homie one time tell me like, I had a passing of my mother like a handful of years ago, and my homie told me this, and he told me, I'm sorry for not being there like I should have been. Like, you know what I'm saying? And he told me, he's like, I didn't know what to do. He's like, I've never lost someone close to me, and I didn't know if you wanted space. I didn't know if you wanted me to make you laugh. Like, I didn't know how to be there for you, right? And so I think what's most important when trying to, ask that person, right? Like, how can I best support you? What do you need from me? Right? Sometimes we feel like we need to cheer them up. Like, no, your job is not to cheer them up. Like, they're gonna go and process things how they process, and everybody processes different things differently, right? So I would say, like, I would just suggest just ask the homie, like, hey man, like, you need some space, or let me know if you need to kick it and get your mind off of things, right? Lots of times people won't reach out, people won't really reach out, right? Like, a lot of times, like, let me know if you're trying to get up, and then like, how often times you get up, or let me know when you try to link up, even on some homie stuff. If things are going well, like, that happens a lot. So like, it takes initiative for you to check in, like, right, like, yo homie, I'm gonna go do this. If you want to come kick the ball around, we're gonna be over here, right? You don't have to do anything extra or special. Just keep being you and the friend that you are, but letting them know, like, hey fam, I see you. I know that you're going through whatever it is you're going through, and I want you to know, like, whatever it is that you may need from my end, like, I'm here and open for it, right? And always, like, kind of having that at the forefront. Yeah, I guess I would just say that. Just ask them straight up, like, yo man, how can I best support you? And they might not know. They may like, I don't even know, man. I'm just like, I don't even know, and that's okay too. But at least they know that when it comes to it, if they need to call somebody up at night because they tripping or whatever, they know at least that you're gonna be there. So they might not know, but that's okay, right? I mentioned about, like, not eating well, right? Something that I try to be really, like, conscious of, and, like, I really appreciate it too, is like, sometimes cooking a meal or getting meals, like, really tiresome, or it's like, you know what I'm saying? So like, I've had homies that I've hit up that, have been going through something, like, yo, let me know if you want me to drop you off dinner. Let me know if you want me to order you some pizza, or let me know. Cause sometimes when you down and depressed, like, you ain't, like, you know what I'm saying? Sometimes you don't even eat. You too lazy to cook, you too whatever, right? Or maybe there ain't food at the crib, you ain't trying to go grocery shopping. So just like little stuff like that, where like, and also keep in mind, when you're going through things, think about how you feel, and think about how you go through things. Like, think about that too, and be like, damn, when I'm down, like, this is what I be needing, right? And so again, just showing up and saying, like, how can I best support you? Because everybody different, man. Some people want their space, some people need to kick it more, like, whatever it is. But you just gotta have that. Don't be scared to communicate.
Yep, yep. I like that, man. I really like that. You mentioned it's like sometimes it's just as simple as like, hey, I might not know how to help this person. Maybe I don't want to ask them, but I can at least just invite them out to play soccer and be like, hey,
Yeah.
we're gonna kick the ball. We're gonna do this. You're more than welcome to
Hmm.
come, and not even ask them, right? Sometimes it's just like sometimes if you want to ask them, comes out of you, you know, hey, what way can I best be here for you? Know that I'm here if anything. Cool. You know, that goes a long way. So with that, man, I just want to say thank you. You know, like, you know, you're very knowledgeable with the stuff, and this is the type of things that we need, type of work that we need being done in the community. So my hats off to you, Samir, JP. What barbershop does he work at?
He over at Flashy Faded. It's in Bayview.
All right, so Flashy Faded, if y'all are ever trying to get cut up, just say you know the homie Sebas. That's how you heard about him. We'll see
He
if
gonna be like, I don't care.
we'll
it's
see
still
if
it's still this amount of money. Look.
right. We'll see if
Hey,
JP.
but if you go to a future session though, if you go to a future session, you'll get that for
Hey,
the free.
so the barbershop real talks might be coming up soon, another version. I know Sebas is they're working together to make another one. So if y'all ever are interested about that or hearing more info about it, how can they get a hold of you, Sebas?
Yeah, I mean, you have my email. I mean, you got my phone, but maybe start out with email too. But if there's any particular like specific things that they need, they could hit me up too. Um, so yeah, feel free to contact me that way if there's something, and even if it's not related to the barbershop stuff, if you got other questions or, because that's what it's really about, like just putting like sharing information and putting people on game. Because honestly, I'll be learning from young people, older people, like it really don't matter. So if there's anything that again I could like connect you with to help you with, I'm here for it. So Santi could share my information, my contact info with y'all.
I just dropped it in the chat as I'm recording this. I don't know if like they'll be able to see it, but I'll make sure that they have it and that they get it, man. Aside of this, man, outside of barbershop talks, maybe not you organizing, right? Is there any other examples of identifying issues and like how to do that, or other things that you know that are going around in the community?
Yeah, man. I mean, again, like so even during like the pandemic when it first started, like uh myself and a group of 7 other homies started a mutual aid spot, which mutual aid is exactly what it sounds like. It's mutual, like the same, and then aiding. So providing like aid to your community. So like mutual aid is all about not investing in systems and places and things that do not serve our community and our people, and investing in things that we actually need and supporting one another on some like taking it back to like, yo, if your neighbor needs sugar type of deal, right? So there was a big problem with food security during the pandemic because, you know, in the Latinx community, like whether it be like, you know, poor wages were already present, like dangerous conditions at the workplace were already present. But then with the pandemic, it just amplified that, right? And so there was a lot of people not having enough money to buy food or not having the resources to have like food. And so we started a food pantry, a mutual aid food pantry that we ran. Started off 2 times a week and then 1 time a week. And we did that and we were feeding close to, you know, 400 people every week. And so again, just find people who give a care about what you're doing. Like, not everybody gonna be on board. Not everybody's gonna have the time or capacity. Some people want to, but they just don't have the time because of life, or maybe they have other stuff going on. But find people who care and connect with them, and you'll be surprised what a small group of people can do. There's this African proverb that says, if you want to go fast, go alone. But if you want to go far, go together. So find people that you can connect with that have the same kind of that share your vision and want to contribute to it. And there's a lot that you can do.
So thank you, man. And we'll end it with that African proverb. I'm literally gonna put a slide that's gonna reiterate that statement in a bit.
Yeah.
Sebas, I appreciate you, man, for that. And just final words of advice to these high school students that you have, man. I know you were in high school once, so if there's anything that you want to tell them, you know, leaving out,
Yeah.
you know, for the outro, this is your time,
Yeah.
man. And with that, man, thank you very much. Appreciate you,
Yeah.
bro.
No, I appreciate it. Thanks for having me, man. The only thing I would say is just try things out. Sometimes we feel like we're too cool to try something out or to attempt something, but like we at a point, even me, I still feel like super young. Like I'm still trying out stuff. So like try something out. If you don't like it, scrap it. But at least you know you don't. That's not your vibe, or that's not something you're trying to get into. But like just try different stuff, and you're gonna fail. Like you're like I said, you're gonna feel down, but you're gonna come across a lot of walls. It's all good. You know, if you can't crash through that wall, just go around it. Like figure out. There's always ways to figure things out, even though sometimes it feels like you can't do it or this or that. So yeah, I would just suggest just keep your mind open. and your heart open as well. That's really important. Sounds corny, but love got to be at the root of everything you do. Otherwise, you ain't gonna really take it as far as you really can. So I would just suggest that.
Dope. Well, with that, Sebas, appreciate you, brother.
For sure. Oh,
Well,
and would it be a shameless plug? If you want to check out the music, make sure you check out Brown's Crew. We talk about some of this stuff in our music as well. We make music to vibe and dance to, but there's some gems in there too in terms of organizing and making sure that you plug into your hood. So plug into your hoods as well. Plug in with people who are doing stuff and just keep connecting.
send me those links, man, to how they could find you, especially Brown's Crew, and hear your music. Because I think it's super, super dope. I'll be sure to include that in our Head Rush module where they can get all those links and resources, man. Appreciate you. Dope music. And it's not because Sebas is the homie, but for real, dope music. Y'all check it out. Sebas, appreciate you, man. Take it easy. And I hope this is not the last time that we see y'all. We hope that you maybe Brown's Crew can come perform sometime.
Yeah, we can make something happen. And and the students in with Santi too, ask him. He's a resource. He's somebody who can connect you and plug you. Homie knows quite a few people. So if you got questions too, he's definitely another resource that you should use for sure. So I appreciate you having me on here too, man. Always good chopping it up with you.
Hey man, it takes a village, man. Take it easy and we'll keep in touch.
Bet.
All right. Peace out, my man.